Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Steve from GraphicDesignerTips.com. This is Logo Design Bootcamp, episode number 25. Holy crap, 25 episodes. We got one more after today, and basically, Logo Design Bootcamp is a series to make you a better graphic designer overall, but it's focused on logo design. So every week I design a fictitious logo for you to learn from, and I teach you in Adobe Illustrator on how to build it. And each logo I design is not only based on a different letter of the alphabet each week, which makes it interesting, but I use different tools and techniques every single logo. So by the end of this whole entire series, you'll be much stronger at this type of work. So every week, I always ask for comments to be left for future videos or what you learned in the video. And I had two comments last week on my episode number 24, which I combined into today's tutorial. So one person asked me if I can design something around a yin yang theme for the letter Y, which I thought was interesting because I love yin yangs. And the other commenter said something about a yarn company, which at first it's kind of sounds really boring, but I had this concept in my head, and then I put it on paper, and then I put it on my digital computer, and it looks pretty damn awesome. It's a little bit cartoonish, but it's for the purpose of the tutorial for you guys to learn more tools. So Yin Yang Yarn is the logo you're going to be learning from today. And it's, like I said, it's a pretty cool logo, and there's a lot of things. It's a little bit of a long video, but like always, you're going to get something out of it. So let me critique this real quick. I enjoyed building this Yin Yang Yarn logo. It's a very playful logo. It's a little bit less serious, but it definitely served the purpose of the theme that I was going for, and I'm very happy with how it came out. I always loved yin yangs, drawing them when I was younger. I always wore like yin yang necklaces, and it's funny because as a kid you don't really understand what that means. As an adult, I understand what the whole concept is, and it's pretty cool. But what I tried to depict here, obviously, was the fact that we have this ball of yarn, and it's the Yin Yang Yarn Company or whatever it is, Yin Yang Yarn Supplies and stuff. So, but I was able to cut the actual title of the name of the company out through it, creating two different halves. Now, I depicted those two different halves with two different colors, and just like on a yin yang, where the black has the white circle on it and the white has a black circle, the two colors, the pink and the purple, I was able to depict them as opposites, meaning that on the pink side, I was able to make this button the purple. So it's that yin yang type of an effect. Also, the fact that this, when it cuts out, it does make a very similar shape to a yin yang. Not completely perfect, but it still fits almost as if it's two puzzle pieces. So what you're going to learn in this tutorial is really how to do stuff with text like this. The effect on the text, you're going to learn brush strokes. And the fact that, if you notice, this background is different than this background. And you really can't get that effect. Well, I'll show you the way I got the effect, or I did that. But, some people might be thinking I used a gradient, when in fact, there's actually two different areas that I broke up. I actually broke that circle apart, and so I was able to make this area one color and this area one color. So let's jump into Adobe Illustrator CS6, and I will show you exactly how to build this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up to our ellipse tool, or L on the keyboard. We're going to click, hold shift so we make a nice perfect circle, and we're going to fill it with some kind of a gray, and I'll show you why I'm doing that in a second. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a rectangular box, and we're going to put it right down the center. Just do it by eye, and we're going to fill that with white. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit the type tool, and we're going to type out yin yang yarn, and we're going to hit escape. The font is called Krung Thep, and it's in the below this description in the video. And I'm just going to move it up here till it hangs off the edge a little bit. And I'm going to go to now type change case, and I want to make it uppercase. And I actually I squeezed this in a little bit. I wanted the font to be a little bit more narrow, and so after squeezing that in, I still want it to hang off the edge, so I got to add some tracking. So come into your character and add some tracking so it now hangs off that edge. Okay, and we're going to make this a little bit larger, this white box in the background. And now we're going to select our type, and we're going to go to Type, Create Outlines. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take another rectangle, and we're going to make a small rectangle on top. We're going to make a small rectangle. Actually, you know what? We're going to click this and then hit hold option, click, and hold shift while you do this, and it'll copy it right down. And now we're going to select the white box, these two black rectangles, and the type. And we're going to select all of it, and we're going to go to Command G or group. And now we're going to go into the effect. We're going to go to warp, and we're going to go to flag. And we're going to hit preview to see what's going to happen here when we do this. And I have it at 100% right now, so I'm going to hit OK. And yes, it looks a little bit, well, it's pretty similar to what I have, but I also worked on this logo for a few hours. So, you know, from the concept to completion, so to get it to where I want it to be. So now we have this selection. And I want to, in a second, I'm going to move this away and I'm going to start working on the circle behind it. But before I do that, I want to take the pen tool up here and we're going to click and we're just going to kind of go right in the middle here. And we're going to, just for, you know, your viewing purpose, I'm going to make this a thick red stroke just so you can see what's about to happen here. Now, I'm going to take this element that I just did up here and I'm going to move it down here. And we're going to go to Object, Expand Appearance, because now it's going to be the exact, if you look where it was, it's actually showing the original, and it just shows it with the effect. When you go to Expand Appearance, now you have actual points in the spots they're supposed to be, which is now you can, you know, manipulate them with no problem. So what we're going to do up here is we are going to select all three of these elements, well, excuse me, two, the circle and the red stroke, and we're going to come up into the Pathfinder and hit divide. All right. Now, what that just did is it just took this circle and literally divided it into two pieces. So you have to go to Object, Ungroup, and you'll see what happens after that. Now you have these two separate pieces, which is pretty cool. So let me move this over here because I don't have this color. All right, let's see. So the top piece, you know what, I'm just going to do this by eye. The top piece, we're going to fill it with a magenta, but I'm going to make it, you know, a light pink. And the bottom, we're going to fill with purple. And I'm going to, let's see, make it, actually, I'm just going to sample that. There we go. Okay, cool. So now we have our two colors in here. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to make a swirl around here that's going to make this entire effect. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a circle, an ellipse, and we're going to make an ellipse like so. Hold shift while you're doing this. And we're going to fill it just with the stroke of white, and it has no fill. And you're going to come up into your, let me get this out of here for a second, your brushes area. And you're going to hit this little drop down, go to Open Brush Library, Artistic and Artistic Charcoal Pencil. And I think the one that I did was this first one. Okay, cool. It looks very similar to what I had. And so that's going to be the outside stroke. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do this swirl. So we're going to come up into our option, into this line segment tool, hold it down, and you're going to see the spiral tool. And let's see what I have here. Okay, cool. So you're going to click, and you're going to, this is fun, mess around with this, and you'll figure out how it works in the end. But right now, put it at about 1 inch, make the decay 95%, and make the segments 100. And the style doesn't really matter because you can flip it around, and then hit OK. And you're going to now, everything you do, it's going to be based on those options that you set. So if you don't like how it looks, you have to literally click the artboard again and do it all over. So what we're going to do here is we're going to click and hold shift. Well, actually, it doesn't really matter if you hold shift on this, but hold the space bar down to kind of move it around. You know, I'm holding the space bar so I can move it, because if I let go of the space bar, this is going to happen. All right, so we're going to put it over our area. And yes, we have a white stroke on here, but now we're going to come up in here and mess around and find, you know, a nice brush that's going to work. And I might even use that brush that I used before, that same brush stroke. So in that case, I really don't have to use it twice, but I'll change it to something else anyway. Let's see what I did on the original logo. All right. So we're going to take this now and we're going to go to transparency. We're going to make it 20%. And the outside I left at 100 to really break it up just a little bit more. And now we kind of have what's going on here. We're going to now come back to this element that we were at before. And we're going to, well, actually, you know what? Before I do that, let's do something else. Let's make this area a little styled with the color up here like I did with the pink. So we're going to come up here. We're going to go to Command 2 or Object Lock. And we're going to click that and go to Object Lock. So now when I click, all we're going to do is click on this pink and this purple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight both of these. I'm going to go to Command C, and now I'm going to lock them. So I don't want to mess with them anymore on accident. So Command 2, and now I can't mess with them. But since I copied them, I can recopy it on top by going to Command Apple or Command F. And now basically I have these same elements on top. And I'm going to come into our gradient mesh tool, and I'm going to, actually first what we really should do is make sure that these swatches are actual, these colors in your swatches. So take the fill and drag it over in here on this, and then on the purple, drag it into your swatches palette so you can use it later on. We're going to come into our gradient mesh tool, and we're just going to click. And we're going to select a color, and now we're going to come into our color palette and kind of change that color a little bit. Say we add some pink in there, magenta. We'll do it one more time. All right, now we're going to click on the purple, and we're going to set our values a little bit different because we want a different color to come up. Maybe a darker purple. Maybe click that one more time. And let's see, I'm pretty sure I did a multiply on this. Oh no, I did a screen, excuse me. We're going to select both of these, and we're going to go to transparency, and we're going to go to screen. And that didn't do a damn thing. Why not? All right, let's figure this out. Let's see what we did here. Let's go back. Let's back up a sec. All right, so we screened these, and it didn't do anything. Let's try doing an overlay. Okay, that's what I did. All right, so do an overlay, and now if you don't like it, it's a little bit too intense, you can come to your opacity and mess around with that. You know, you come down to like 20% or so, and but now you got that area worked out. The next thing we're going to do is, I mean, I put these buttons in last, but yeah, we'll do that last anyway. We're going to take this element that is still grouped down here. We're going to pull it up here, and now it's behind everything. So we're going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. And you see how that white area breaks up? It's hiding it basically, but you know, you didn't know that from looking at mine. What we're going to do on here is we're going to right click and ungroup, or go to Object, Ungroup. And now we can mess around with these elements on their own. The first element, I am going to fill the top one with purple because the bottom area is purple, so I want it to be opposites, just like the yin yang. And we're going to put the purple on the top and the pink on the bottom. And we're going to select the purple, and now hold shift when you're selecting the pink, and then that third box in the back. And we're going to simply put a brush on there, just like we did before. Okay, and we're going to make sure that brush is white, and that's what's making the effect that's going around. So what I might want to do is actually take it off of the, let's see, if it's too intense and it's starting to take things away, you just need to go into your stroke and make it less of a stroke. So there we go. That's much better to my liking. I'm going to make this pink a little bit more like magenta. Make this purple a little bit darker. There we go. Like I said, this logo took me, you know, a very long time to build. So I'm just giving you guys what I did so you can, you know, make your own rendition of it. This is now outlined like I did earlier in the tutorial. So we can now put a gradient in it by coming to gradient and clicking here. And I did a black to a, say you do a black to magenta. And you're going to pull the magenta into the white. So it's going to be black and magenta. You're now going to take your gradient tool, click from the top. You can even go on an angle here and let go. And why that's not happening, there we go. Okay, cool. A little bit more. And let's see something here real quick. Okay, if you see how, I don't like how the gradient fades. You see how the gradient, let's zoom in. You see how the gradient from magenta to black fades nice? And over here, it kind of gets a little bit muddy. Well, the reason being is because we're going to click this black, and we got to make sure that this black is CMYK black. It's not just 100% black. So the way that you do that is we're going to click on the black right here, and this comes up. So you see what happens when I click on the magenta, that comes up. When I click on the black, that comes up. We're going to right click this down arrow and go to CMYK, and we're going to add 80 or 100% of every other color in here. And you notice how everything has changed now. Watch, I'm going to back up. See how it looked before? Muddy. Now let's go forward. Much nicer. So we're going to now take that again. There we go. That's exactly, maybe a little bit higher. A little lower. There we go. That's what I wanted. Just on the top, just a little bit. Okay, so now we got yin yang yarn, and we're going to create these buttons, which is very simple. We're going to create another circle, and you can have it fill whatever. So let's fill it with the purple for now, and we're going to make 4 circles. We're going to go 1, fill them with white so you can see them. 1, option click shift, option click shift, and we're going to select all 4 of these, and we're going to hold shift and option when you're doing this, so it'll just go straight. It'll magnify straight down the center. If I don't, watch what happens. It'll go this way. So this, you'll get that by playing around with the program. Now we want to select all these elements. What the hell is that? That's something hanging out there. Center this a little bit more. Select all these elements, and we're going to come into our Pathfinder, and we're going to go to minus front. And now, when I minus the front, basically I could see through this button now. If you look what I'm doing right now. We're now going to take this button, and we're going to figure out the size that we want it. And we're going to option click shift. We're going to put one over here, and we're going to maybe change the angle of it. Hit E on the keyboard, so now you can mess around with the angle. I'll even change the fill color of that to that let's put it to a little bit darker. Yep, that's good enough. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to take all these elements down here that we did on this little banner, and we're going to go to Object Arrange, Bring to Front, so we can hide those little buttons behind it. And very simply, you're going to click. Actually, we'll do this for both. We'll hold Shift, so we select both these little buttons, and we're going to go to Command C and Command B. We're going to paste it right behind, and we're going to put a white stroke. Don't click off of this yet, and we're going to add a stroke on here. Now, what I did was I actually did a subtle brush stroke again on here. I'm a brush stroke guy. I love this stuff. So let's put a little brush stroke on here and see what happens. Sometimes it looks a little funky. So maybe what I'll just do is I'll just leave it without a brush stroke on it. And all right, so we have, let's see, we have yin yang yarn. You can put gradients in here if you want. I actually didn't. I just put flat color. And the last thing is just this little needle, whatever you want to call it, that's going through it. You come up to the ellipse tool. We're going to make an ellipse just like so. We're going to fill it with black. Okay. We're now going to, and this is the way I do things, because if you see how it's a perfect round around there, I'll show you how I got that in a second. Basically, you're just going to make a rectangle. Okay, and you're going to move it down a little bit. Make sure there's no strokes on these. And we're going to zoom in, and I'm going to option click shift this down because I want to cut this out, this angle, this nice little contour right here. So I'm going to make sure the black one is on top, and I'll show you that by putting another color inside of it. And we're going to select both of these and minus the front. All right, so now when I bring this down, I have it cut out just to where I want it to be. The next thing we're going to do is hit A on the keyboard so we can select an individual point. We're going to nudge it over. Say we do 3, 1, 2, 3. And this is also still kind of high. So we're going to take a rectangle over this, and we're going to select both, and we're going to minus the front because we're cutting out. And we're now going to, well, before I do that, let's actually, no, I can do this. Let's hit E on the keyboard. And we're going to put this here. Now, I don't like how it's on top going into it, so we're going to go Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Change the angle on it a little bit. Let's see, where's mine? Mine's all the way up here, actually. Okay. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out kind of by eye, or you can always pull out a guide. And we're going to just make this and go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. All right. Pull that out a little bit. So we got a little pin there. And what I did in here was I just made a cool little gradient. Let me stretch this out a little bit. Basically what I did was I just took a gradient. And this is really the last thing. And I started taking different values of black and pulling it into the gradient. My whole tool palette's messed up over here. All right, so say we take black, we take that magenta out, and you know we take like an 80% black, we take like a 40%, then we go darker, then we pull that black over, and then we go lighter again. Just it's going to create some kind of a gradient here. Basically, you want to take your gradient tool and you want to click now. And it's going to show you as you zoom in, let's zoom in, you can actually mess around with each of these colors as you're on here to get that, you know, that metal type of, or excuse me, shiny type of a look on it. Let's see, let's rotate this a little bit. Yeah, I love this thing right here. It's awesome. What you can do with that. All right, that's pretty cool. And, you know, you can even use that same gradient on the top here. And then obviously you'd have to mess around with this to get to where you want it to be. And also just to keep it similar, put the gradient in that little pin on the bottom. So obviously there, you know, I don't want this tutorial to be an hour. So, you know, there's a lot of fine tuning that goes into this. Personally, it looks like maybe the whole banner is a little bit low. So maybe I'll just take everything, lock everything so I don't mess around with it, and just kind of select this and nudge it up. Put it more towards the middle. And that is the Yin Yang Yarn logo.